haven't looked into any of the auditions you sent me yet.
Me neither.
I appreciate them. I love them. I will be looking at them.
Same.
It's just so far my brain's been like...
I know, but don't you just love that we send each other auditions? We're so good to each other.
100%. We are so good to each other.
That's why it works, guys. You can't be scared to share, because if your friend makes money, then you make money somehow, some way down the line.
Well, and also, a scarcity mindset doesn't serve anybody.
It doesn't.
So with that being said, welcome to Story Sirens, the podcast where we discuss myths and legends from around the world, as well as sometimes our personal lives and our careers. But anyway, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Yenny. And if mythology is your obsession, join us for more mythological deep dives in our Discord server. The link is always in the show notes. And you have to listen to me because my lips are red today. So
they are red. They are fabulous. But yes, join us. So today we are talking about changelings.
Ooh. These magical little creatures of European folklore are both sinister and sympathetic, as it was because of the idea of changelings that some terrible and really unfortunate things were done to human children. So
with that said, we do want to provide a trigger warning for this episode. There will be mention of abuse, murder, and child harm throughout the episode. So if that is too much for you, we completely understand, and we will see you in the next episode.
Yes, the next episode, things are sparkling, so you'll be fine. It's okay. We won't get mad at you. So
no, not at all.
With that being
Take care
said,
of yourself.
Yes, please. With that being said, let's go ahead and begin. Changelings can be found in the myths and legends of many countries, including Ireland, Germany, Scandinavia, Iceland, and beyond. We will be focusing primarily on European changelings in today's episode. But we wanted to quickly cover changelings or changeling-type creatures from around the world.
Yay!
Changelings around the world include the Philippines, Aswangs. These creatures steal babies to eat them and leave behind a glamoured plant so unsuspecting parents won't realize their child is gone until it's too late, which...
This is terrible.
Which, I mean, even... I don't have kids, but with my niece and nephew, if it gets too quiet,
yes.
I go...
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute.
There's
this
something
is
wrong.
suspicious and I don't like it. Yeah.
Aswangs disguised themselves as normal humans during the day so they could wander amongst villagers undetected and could shapeshift into animals or their true form at night. It was at one time believed that if your neighbor had constantly bloodshot eyes with dark circles under them, it wasn't because they were smoking that Mary Jane. No. It was because they were Aswangs in disguise, okay?
Oh, dear.
This would frequently lead to violence against the accused person. Do you imagine? This person's just high.
They're just high. Or, like, they're just an insomniac, and they're like, listen, life is punishment enough for me, and now you think I'm a monster?
Yeah. That's just going to be more detrimental trauma coming into the person.
It really is. It really is.
Just trying to have a nice time.
Well, moving away from the Philippines, in Nigeria, there is the Ogbanje/Abiku. These were believed to be malicious ghosts of deceased children and infants. They were blamed for causing infant deaths and stillbirths, as it was believed that the Ogbanje would attach themselves to a singular mother and reincarnate themselves again and again, leading to multiple stillbirths and miscarriages. Right? In order to drive this spirit away, the living had to find something that belonged to the deceased child and give it to the local shaman so they could sever the ghost's ties to the living.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh, and in China, we have the shuigui. These are water ghosts who, after they attack and murder their human victims, possess their victim's body. As the shuigui impersonates the human soul becomes the new shuigui, and the cycle continues. And just as a side note, Alex has talked to me about many different types of Chinese folklore that have to do with ghosts, and I do not play with that stuff anymore. And we will actually be having a episode about superstition, so look forward to that one, as well as some ghostly episodes coming up. As you know, it's holiday season. Bring out the pumpkin. Or for now, bring out the Nagas.
All right, yes. In India, there are Nagas, and it was believed that the Nagas lived underground and would kidnap humans to eat or to use as breeding stock. So,
Dude, what is going on in these countries with
Yeah. So that was just a brief overview of
brief but terrifying
changelings around the world. Yes, they are terrifying. And so now let's go to European changelings, which are just as terrifying. So we've already discussed the European Fae to an extent, the Seelie and Unseelie courts, and how the Fae could capture humans who are unfortunate enough to cross their paths. That was a continuous sort of pattern that we found with the Seelie and Unseelie, is that, if they saw you, if they noticed you, bad news.
Yeah. They're not sexy Fae men. They're just not.
They could be sexy, but it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
So,
unless you like that.
Anywho. So what about humans who were abducted by the Fae, even though those humans had never seen or interacted with the Fae? That's right. You don't have to step into a fairy ring in order for the fairies to steal you away. You could simply be an innocent little baby that the fairies desire, and poof, the Fae would swap you with one of their own children in order to take the human child. This is a problem. We got some kidnapping going on.
We got some kidnapping. As evident in the Changelings Around the World list, changelings do not belong to a certain race of Fae. They are merely what is left in the place of a stolen human child. The changeling itself could be a fairy, elf, troll, anything, which honestly, I'd rather have a fairy baby than a troll baby. Because those diapers, anywho.
Oh, the diapers for sure. Yeah.
It could even be an inanimate object that has been glamored to look like the stolen child. Like, for example, the glamoured plant.
The glamoured plant.
Yeah.
In the Philippines, yes.
Technically, an inanimate object such as a log, stick, or even stone that was glamoured was known as a fetch or stock rather than a changeling.
Correct. So a fetch or stock was usually the inanimate object. The changeling was usually whatever was left in the human baby's place. So, in Scandinavian mythology, trolls supposedly believed it was more respectable to be raised by a human than by a fellow troll.
I mean, have some self-respect, trolls,
I know. I feel like we need some sort of, self-talk motivational speaker for the trolls.
Motivational speaking for the trolls. And it's so funny, too, because how we're depicting trolls nowadays is these cute little hairy things that sing. They're not cute. But they are hairy.
No, these are big monstrous creatures.
Yes, that do not sing. They are not Justin Timberlake.
No, they're not. So, in these myths, trolls would kidnap unbaptized children and leave their own child in its place for the human parents to raise. If the human baby had already been baptized, then the troll could not abduct it.
I love how it gets a little religious. If you're baptized, you're good.
Yeah, there's a lot of religious imagery and symbolism for the European changeling myths, and I'm sure that there are cultural religious symbols in changelings from around the world, but as we said, we are focusing on European mythology today.
Yes.
So, most often it was believed that the changeling that was left with the human family would be an elderly fairy who desired pampering, or a sickly fairy child. The fairy would be under a spell that made them look similar to the stolen child. Now, why would the Fae want a human child? Some myths claim that the Fae would steal children because they themselves could not reproduce.
Oh.
And as we discussed sometimes in our earlier Seelie and Unseelie court, if a human stayed long enough in the Fae dominion, they themselves would become Fae. Now, other myths claimed that they would raise the child and eventually use the grown human to help strengthen the fairy bloodline. Still, other myths claimed that fairies, like magpies, just loved beautiful things and wanted to have them for themselves.
Oh, they think our babies are pretty?
They do think our babies
We have
are
to
pretty.
be careful, you and I, because our babies are going to be beautiful.
Our babies are going to be so pretty. And later on, we will discuss how to protect your child from being stolen by the fae.
Fair.
But last but not least, I need to mention some legends state that changelings just come from the devil himself.
What? Why would he kidnap children?
I mean, well, he is the devil, so I mean, why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
So
demon baby. All right.
Here's one example myth of a devil and the changeling.
Mm-hmm.
So, long ago,
in the 1500s,
in the city of Breslau,
which is in Poland,
there was a wealthy nobleman whose subjects harvested the crops from his fields for him every year. One year, there was a new mother amongst his subjects, and when she learned she could not forego the harvest, she brought her baby with her and laid him gently on the soft grass while she worked. When she returned later in the day to nurse the child, she cried out in horror. What? What are you laughing at already?
She laid him in the grass and then left to work?
I mean, this is the problem. This is the problem with the nobleman who didn't give her time off.
Pero entonces el niño está solo ahí?
He's all by himself. He's all by himself.
I know.
See? All right, so when she returned later in the day to nurse the child, she cried out in horror, seeing that the wailing baby on the grass was not her child.
Oh, well.
However, not knowing what else to do, she kept the child for a full week, enduring its terrible cries and greedy feeding. Finally, she went to the nobleman and told him about her problem. The nobleman said,
"If you truly believe this is not your child, take it to the field where you first found it and beat it with a switch. Then you will witness a miracle." Sarah, what kind of story is it? First, la mamá no quiere al hijo porque lo deja en la hierba. And then
we have a lot of problems here.
And then beat it with a stick.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a lot wrong. You're going to see a pattern here with these. So anyway, the mother did as the nobleman instructed. As soon as the changeling child wailed in pain, the devil himself appeared, the woman's child in his arms. He gave her back her child, saying, "Here, have it." Then gathered up the changeling child and vanished.
I mean, so...
Let it be known that here at Story Sirens, we do not condone child abuse. We are merely repeating old stories and myths. That's also why we put a trigger warning on here. And it is going to get worse.
But why would the devil care that the other thing, because we don't know what it is, it's a thing.
We don't know what it was.
It is getting beat up, and the devil's like, okay, don't touch my baby. Just take it.
Right. So, yeah. So, as mentioned earlier, the changeling would often look similar enough to the stolen child, but would never look exactly like them, as evident by the woman noticing, that's not my kid.
That's my baby.
That's not my kid. As well, the changeling's behavior would be distinctly different, which is what would often give their identity away to the human family.
Mm-hmm.
Identifiable traits of changelings include being inconsolable and crying all the time, being insatiable and eating the family out of house and home, possessing immense knowledge that would be almost impossible for a human child to have, such as musical or artistic proficiency, or failure to age regardless how much time passes.
Okay, hold on. Some of these things, I mean, there are moments where babies just cry and there is like nothing you can do. They just cry and
they're
don't
just
stop.
fussy.
They're fussy. And it could be teething. And then liking music? What are we then?
What are we then? No. Like being able to like play an instrument or like sing beautifully like as a baby. Yeah, exactly. It's like, you're going to punish your prodigy? What's Mozart then?
Yeah.
A changeling?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Once the changeling was identified, there was several courses of actions the parents could take to try to get their human child back. One course of action was to treat the changeling very well, as it would encourage the fairies to treat the human child well, which I feel like that
tit for tat.
We should do that. Why don't more people? Because if there's something we know in this episode is that nobody does what I just said. Everybody does the other thing.
everybody does the opposite.
God.
So I will give you one brief hope for humanity.
One brief.
In one Swedish myth, a mother discovers her child has been replaced with a troll child. She asks her neighbors how she should go about getting her own child back, and they all advise her to whip and beat the troll child. But the mother can't bring herself to do that, seeing the troll child as equally innocent as her own. Her husband then demands that she leave the troll child in the forest so that their son will be returned. The mother refuses. Frustrated, the husband storms out of the house and goes into the forest himself. Once there, he finds his own son wandering freely through the forest. He embraces his son and asks him how he was freed. The son says that since the human mother never harmed the troll child, the troll mother never harmed the human child.
Fair.
And even though the human mother was at risk of losing what was dearest to her, her husband, she still refused to harm the troll child. Therefore, the trolls saw they had no power over the mother and released the human child.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I think so too. But sadly, kindness was often the rarest method used to rescue the human baby. Another method to get rid of a changeling was to make it laugh or speak.
That's not too bad. I mean,
yeah, that's not too bad. So most changelings in legends had terrible temperaments, and causing the changeling to laugh would break the magic spell over it. So, in the story, The Brewery of Eggshells by T. Crofton Croker, one morning, Mrs. Sullivan looked at her sweet baby boy and saw that he had seemingly transformed overnight into a strange, withered little man with a pointed face.
Oh.
She cried out, startled, and almost took the changeling and threw it out of the house. And yet, the changeling resembled her son just enough that she couldn't be sure if it was truly a changeling or her baby was under some sort of affliction.
Okay, so we're not bad.
Not yet. Now, all of her neighbors agreed that the child must be a changeling, and Mrs. Sullivan's baby was with the good people.
So, now Sarah just said good people. As we recall in the Unseelie and Seelie episode, a lot of the times humans would not call the fairies fae, but instead would call them good people. You never wanted to talk bad about them because they're always listening.
Don't want to talk bad about them.
Okay.
They were always listening.
Yeah.
So refer to them as the good people or the good neighbors,
yes,
as a way to kind of flatter them and, maybe make them a little bit more amiable to do as you'd like.
Yes.
So one day, a well-known elderly woman by the name of Grey Ellen came into the village. She was gifted with the sight and could cure all sorts of maladies and was praised for her knowledge. She saw Mrs. Sullivan and said,
"You are in grief, dear lady."
Which I'm like, you don't really need much sight for that.
Yeah.
It's a mother distraught over her child.
Yeah, come on now.
But Mrs. Sullivan told Grey Ellen about her problems, and the older woman told her what to do to get her own child back.
Bring a pot of water to a great boil and take 12 freshly laid eggs. Crack the eggs and put the shells in the water, throwing out everything else. When you
Wasteful.
look into your baby's crib, you will know if it is a fairy or not that lays there. If it is a fairy, take a red-hot poker and shove it down its throat. The fairy will then tell...
sweetest voice.
The fairy will then tell you where your baby is. What is happening?
Oh, okay. All right. So Mrs. Sullivan did as Grey Ellen instructed. And as she placed the eggshells into the boiling water, the changeling in the crib said,
"What are you doing, Mother?"
Now remember, this was supposed to be a baby, and the fact that he even spoke proved to Mrs. Sullivan that a fairy had indeed taken her baby's place. But the poker in the fire was not yet hot, so she decided to keep the fairy preoccupied. She said,
"I'm brewing eggshells."
At this, the fairy stood up and laughed, saying,
"I've lived for over 1,500 years, and I've never seen anyone brew eggshells."
At this, Mrs. Sullivan yanked the poker out of the fire, raised it over her head, ran towards the crib, tripped, and fell face first. When she got to her feet, in the crib was her sweet little baby boy, sound asleep as if nothing had happened.
Okay.
So, as in the story above, legend had it that once the changeling laughed, the fae would be forced to retrieve it and return the human child.
Well, not bad. We do have to say that Mrs. Sullivan was about to freaking stick that poker right down his throat, okay? Violence was in her mind.
There was violence in her mind.
Yeah.
So, the most popular way of driving out a changeling,
which I really do not like where this is going, because if that was
you
not,
already see where it's going.
If that was not the worst, I can only imagine.
Well, frightening or torturing the changeling was often seen as the most expedient way to get your own child back. Eventually, the changeling would yield and bring back the human child it had traded places with.
Of course, the most popular option would be violence.
Yes, so, and as you can already tell, in the Swedish myth, the neighbors and the husband were telling the mother to get rid of the troll baby or to hurt it.
Yeah.
In the Brewery of Eggshells is an Irish myth, and in that myth, everybody's telling her to hurt the baby.
Yeah. I mean, everybody, I see
great.
a lot of people be like, man, I wish we were back to the old days. No, you don't.
No!
No, you don't. Not at all. You know what happened in the old days? You had your baby get freaking tortured because it was maybe or maybe not a fairy. So
yeah, because maybe it was a little fussy.
Yeah.
So
his teeth were coming out, and all of a sudden you got to beat it with a switch. Jesus.
Right? Now, in case you, dear listener, were feeling a little too comfortable because you're thinking, well, at least the changelings only go after babies. No!
No.
Changelings don't always target babies.
Mm-mm.
In the Irish myth, Jamie Friel and the Young Lady by Letitia McClintock, our hero is the poor but virtuous Jamie Friel, who works hard to take care of his elderly mother.
Mm.
On Halloween, Jamie decided to venture to the ruined castle by his home to meet the fae and make his fortune. Now, if you recall from our Halloween episode, Halloween is often believed to be the thinning of the veil when worlds kind of collide. And also, if you remember from our very first episode, Tamlin, Halloween was often when the fairies would make deals or present tithes either to the devil or to the powers that be in the fairy courts.
Yes.
So, of course, Halloween. So, Jamie met the fairies and joined the party they were throwing inside the ruined castle. And one thing led to another, and the young man found himself riding on the back of a fairy horse towards Dublin with all his new fairy friends.
So it worked out.
It worked out great. He watched as the fae stole a sleeping young girl from her bed and put a stick in her place, which immediately took on her form.
Dude, stop. Does that not remind you of those, stick insects? They terrify me.
Oh my gosh, it's like fairy stick bugs.
They terrify me so much. But also, you'll find those stick insects in the episode that we did on Pan's Labyrinth, too.
Oh,
so,
yeah. So, see, stick bugs are fairies.
Yes.
Now, as the troupe rode back to the ruined castle from Dublin, Jamie asked to hold the girl for a time. The fairies acquiesced, and then Jamie urged his fairy steed towards his home instead of the castle. Enraged, the fairies made the girl in his arms look like a burning hot piece of iron, a sack of wool, and a vicious black dog, all in an effort to make Jamie let go of her, kind of like what the fairies did to Tamlin when his love was trying to rescue him.
Yes.
But still, Jamie held on to her.
Go, Jamie.
Right as he made it to his homes, the fairies cursed the girl that she would be deaf and mute. Bringing her into the house, his mother fretted over both of them, fearing that the fairies would continue to chase them. But the fairies left them alone, and without the help of a fairy steed, it was impossible to get the girl back to Dublin. It was too far away. So, for a full year, Jamie took care of the deaf and mute girl and his mother.
Jamie!
Now, Jamie and his mother did not live a lavish life, as the girl was used to. After all, she was stolen from a fine house in the grand city of Dublin.
They've given me to the poor.
And she cried by the fire almost every night. Which, yeah. And also she can't hear and she can't talk. The girl is traumatized.
Dude.
But she tried to smile at the mother and son who saved her from the fairies and who were trying to take care of her.
Yeah, girl, come on now.
After a full year had passed, Jamie returned to the ruined castle on Halloween. He was greeted by the fairies, who encouraged him to join their party, which I'm just like, oh, okay, forgive and forget, I guess.
Apparently.
One of the fairy women offered him a cup of fairy wine.
No.
Which he took from her, and then he ran away.
Okay.
He raced out of the castle towards his home with the fairies close behind him. When he made it back to the house, he saw that after all his running, only 3 drops of fairy wine remained in the cup. He gave the cup to the lady and she drank, and immediately she was cured of the fairy curse and could speak and hear again.
Yay.
She thanked Jamie and his mother for taking care of her and asked for a pen and paper to write to her family in Dublin. The letter was sent off, but no reply ever came.
Oh.
Fearing the worst, the lady said she would risk the journey back to Dublin. Jamie agreed to go with her. After a very long and arduous journey, because again, it was a great distance, there is no fairy steed, when they made it to her home in Dublin, neither her parents nor servants believed that she was their daughter, for the stick the fae had glamoured to look like her had also been glamoured to die. So, the grieving father and mother had buried the changeling.
Oh, no.
But the young lady, named Gracie, as we discover at this time, was finally able to convince them of her true identity. Something, birthmark, something, yada, yada.
Yeah.
The family was restored. Jamie married Gracie, and his mother was brought to live with all of them in luxury in the large house in Dublin.
Damn,
The end.
Jamie did not waste no time. He's like,
Oh, yeah, no,
wow,
no.
now you can talk and you're rich? Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
I've had like,
You know,
potato soup for all my life?
I have proven my loyalty.
Yeah. Now,
I worked for you for a year.
Now, listen, Sarah, let's move on to this big question, okay?
Okay.
How can you protect your child from the fae? Because obviously, there's a lot, and you don't even have to be a child, because look.
You don't have to be a child.
Gracie was a young lady.
Gracie was a young lady.
And, yeah.
But children were the most common victims
Yes.
of fairy kidnapping. So, according to Jacob Grimm of the famous Brothers Grimm, placing a key beside your child in their crib would protect them from fairy abduction. Likewise, a woman must never be left alone during the first 6 weeks following childbirth because the devil would target them.
Is this a misdiagnosis of postpartum?
It could be.
It could be, but I also will say that in a lot of cultures, specifically me talking from Hispanic and Chinese culture now, right after birth, a family member stays with you, like,
Which
throughout
I
the whole
love. I
time.
think that's so good.
Yeah. And so if you want, when you give birth, I will live with you.
I love it. Great.
For only
Wonderful.
a few weeks, but just so that to make sure that you're okay. You'll be like, I want to be
Perfect.
Cuban, Yenny. Please come here. Feed me, and I'll make you soupy.
Well, and also when I'm like, what have I done?
Oh,
What have I done?
What have
I know
done?
this was great, but what have I done? Because I also feel like that's probably what a lot of the new mother panic is.
Oh, yeah.
Now, another way to protect the child was to have someone constantly with the mother and child to watch over the newborn so the mother could sleep. Because again, if eyes were taken off the child,
Yeah.
they were at risk for the fae to come get them.
This is actually really cool to see because it might be the reason we've always had that. All the children that have been born in my family, either the mom or a grandma or someone close stays with them so that the mom can sleep and they are constantly with the baby. So the baby always has eyes on it. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And likewise, should the mother ever leave the infant unattended for a moment, Jacob Grimm advised that an article of the father's clothing be laid across the baby or the baby's crib to protect the child from the fae.
Oh, we kind of have something like that.
Oh,
But
do you?
it's not the father's thing. We use an azabache, which is pretty much like an onyx stone, and it's supposed to be for protection of like evil warding.
Oh, cool.
We'll talk about
Okay.
it in another episode, but that's that. Wow!
Now, in Poland, it was believed that you could protect your child from abduction by tying a red ribbon to their wrist, placing a red hat on them, and or keeping them out of direct moonlight.
Whoa! This is also something we use a red string. What is this?
Are you Polish?
I don't know anymore.
Again, I do love myths that are worldwide because I know in the beginning we talked briefly about changelings around the world, and I know a lot of cultures have these beliefs and practices and superstitions and old wives' tales of like, here's what you do when there's a baby, here's what you do when there's a toddler.
Absolutely.
And they're like these multi-generation long traditions. And so it's really cool when you see like this cross-cultural cross-pollination and you're like, oh, we have something similar.
Yeah, Chinese Alex and all his brother and family, they have a red string with the jade on it, and it's protection.
Yeah.
So really cool.
That's so cool. Well, we've made it to the end of the fun portion of the episode, and so now things are going to get a little uglier. So again, we will mention the trigger warning of there is abuse coming up, and some other unfortunate topics such as murder. So,
viewer discretion is advised.
Absolutely.
Or listener discretion.
So tragically, the belief in the changeling sprang from ugly real-life accounts, which were then spun into more fanciful folklore. Now, I will say which came first, the chicken or the egg, the myth of the changeling or tragic occurrences with children, we cannot say.
Yeah.
Scholars and historians are unsure, but there are some real-life consequences of some of these myths.
Right.
Babies born with severe physical or mental handicaps were often believed to be changelings. Before many congenital issues were well understood, people thought these life-altering disabilities were supernatural in origin, either a curse upon the family, or, easier for some families to believe, the baby wasn't actually theirs. During the medieval period of human history, infanticide was horribly common, and it was easier for many families to believe it just wasn't their child, after all, but a fairy imposter.
Yeah, and this is so heart-wrenching. And again, I come back to, like, people are like, oh, we live in the worst times. I'm like, no. You have no idea.
Well, and especially when every member of your family was expected to be, like, a working member of your family on your property. You don't work, you don't eat. Yeah.
Well, that's why so many older generations, you see that they have 10, 15 brothers and sisters. And it's because everybody had a hand. Everybody had to help out in the farm, whatever it was, to ensure that everybody could eat. So it was definitely a different time. And even nowadays, it's still unfortunate. I do, when I used to work as a therapist for children in the spectrum, you see all kinds of parents, and I don't mean to get like this, but you do. Some parents still to this day really truly believe that they've been cursed, or that this child is like, they don't even want people to see their child because
they feel shame about it.
And it's very unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate. In most stories, it can be noted that parents of the changelings seek advice from a neighbor or authority figure, showing that there is a shared moral responsibility in deciding the changeling's fate. If you don't recall, the neighbor is always telling them, no, you gotta beat it with a switch.
And the nobleman in that one story saying like, oh, no, you have to take it to the field and you have to hurt it.
Exactly.
And
And it is a kind of folklore peer pressure and a way to share blame. Like, it wasn't just me. The whole neighborhood said I had to do it.
Yeah, everybody said we needed to do this.
Yes. So after all, even if the parent didn't view the changeling as human, they did not want to be alone in the responsibility of the changeling's suffering.
So stories where the changeling is a fetch or a stock, an inanimate object, rather than a swapped fairy, often end with the inanimate object appearing to die. The fairies were able to keep the stolen child while the parents grieved over the supposed death of their child. Now, this could have been a supernatural explanation for SIDS, failure to thrive, and other misunderstood causes of infant mortality. Again, this is just a speculation.
Yes. I know this is super strange, but we actually kind of covered SIDS in Jurassic World.
We did.
In Jurassic Park
Yeah.
episode. And that is the sleeping infant death syndrome, right? Sudden
Infant death. Yes.
infant death. Yeah, which can
So
sometimes happen while they're sleeping. They just don't wake up.
it's frequently when it occurs. So now, as science was able to explain away more and more medical mysteries throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, the belief in changelings began to fade away. Parents were able to better understand that the maladies their children suffered from were medical and not magical. However, beliefs in changelings lasted as recently as the 19th century.
Absolutely. I believe it. I believe
Yeah.
it. There's so many things that, especially, I feel like it's very prevalent in, maybe not in the United States, but in more rural areas. I do feel like it's still something that people believe in. You know, something happened to me. This is a curse that was placed on me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
At this time, we'd like to discuss a true historical story involving a suspected adult changeling. Trigger warning, we will be discussing abuse and murder. So, again, listener discretion
advised. If this is not something you can handle, totally fine. We will catch you on the next episode. So, as mentioned earlier, belief in changeling lasted well into the 19th century in Europe. On August 6th, 1887, Michael Cleary married Bridget Bullen in County Tipperary in Ireland. Michael was a cooper, someone who makes barrels, casks, and other wooden vessels, and Bridget was an apprentice to a dressmaker. Shortly after their marriage, Bridget's mother either fell sick or passed. Bridget and Michael needed to take care of Bridget's father, and they both moved into Bridget's childhood home in Ballyvadlia.
Bridget was a beautiful woman and was known to be a very independent woman for her time. After her apprenticeship with the dressmaker ended, she began her own small tailoring business. She also sold eggs from her own chicken coop and made her own money. Michael was successful at his own business, and the pair were literate and well thought of by the community. However, the pair never had children. An odd situation, so the neighbors thought.
In early March of 1895, neighbors stated that Bridget had been ill and was staying at home, supposedly suffering from bronchitis. She had contracted it while out delivering eggs to neighbors as the weather had been cold and harsh. On March 13th, a physician came to check on her and reported that her condition had worsened. He prescribed medicine to help her recover, and she was administered her last rites by a local priest, just in case, and her friends and family tended to her. During this time, her husband Michael accused her of being a fairy changeling and demanded to know where the real Bridget was. He claimed she was 2 inches taller and too beautiful to be his wife, and he consulted with a fairy doctor.
Oh, God.
The fairy doctor, Dennis Gainey, prescribed an herbal cure that would scare off the changeling.
On March 16th, Bridget was reported as missing. Michael was seen walking to and from the nearby woods in his Sunday best. He claimed he was going into the woods to beg the fair folk to return his wife. He sat vigil by the woods for 3 whole days.
On March 22nd, Bridget Cleary's burnt body was discovered in a shallow grave, and 9 people, including Michael Cleary, her husband, were arrested for supposed involvement in her disappearance and murder. A trial was held, and by the end, Michael was convicted of manslaughter, and 3 other men were convicted of wounding. The trial revealed the men had held Bridget down as Michael force-fed her fairy remedies and ordered her to reveal her true name. Bridget had insisted on her identity, and the violence only progressed until eventually Michael threw kerosene on her and allowed her to burn to death. Witnesses to the trial and historians alike have debated whether Michael Cleary and his accomplices truly believed Bridget was a changeling, or if they perceived her as too independent and modern for their community. Remember, she was beautiful, literate, had her own business, and was childless. Bridget was a modern woman in an era where the past and the future were struggling against each other for dominance.
Oh my God, my heart aches for her. There is also speculation that Michael may have been suffering from Capgras syndrome. The belief that someone you know has been replaced with an imposter. This is an actual thing.
Yes. Whatever the reasoning, Bridget was an innocent woman attacked by trusted members of her community and by members of her family. She was betrayed by her husband and neighbors and was accused of being a changeling, a title that has stuck with her throughout history. While we here at Story Sirens love myths and legends, y'all all know this, we've talked about them, we also want to shine a light on the darker side of folklore and respect the history of the people who have lived and died by these beliefs.
Oh, Sarah, I thought we were going to be talking about strange but funny fairy babies with magical powers and naughty attitudes. I was not expecting this episode to be as dark as it was.
And that's the tough part about mythology. It's bright and vivid and varied as human history, and it is formed by our history.
Yep, the good and the bad parts.
Exactly. Now, with that said, I will add that today, some historians and sociologists are pushing back against the idea that the myth of the changeling was an explanation for birth defects in earlier human history. They believe that we, the 21st century audience, are looking at history through a lens of presentism and applying our modern morals, ethics, and scientific knowledge to people who lived and thought in a completely different way from us.
Absolutely. I mean, back in the day, I feel like most everything was based on religious ideals. So if something didn't go a certain way, the devil was a part of the reason.
It was the devil.
Right? So, and it would take time and science and technology for us to realize, wow, that's not the case at all.
Yeah.
Now,
this is explainable either to a genetic default or to an unfortunate occurrence.
Exactly. Now, what about the idea that the changeling is representative of individuals who are neurodivergent?
So, I found in my research some historians stating that idea didn't come into being until the 1990s, and other historians stating that the idea of the changeling was an explanation for regressive autism. And I also found several anecdotal accounts, but nothing entirely concrete.
It is mythology and folklore, which by definition isn't concrete.
This is true, but I don't feel qualified to make a statement on the correlation between mythological changelings and real-life neurodivergence, so I will leave that to the interpretation of the individual.
Yep, exactly. Now, let's move on to modern media, shall we? Let's get away from...
Let's do it.
Woo,
yes.
We gotta get away from this heaviness.
So, the poem The Stolen Child by W.B. Yeats was put to music by Loreena McKennitt. If you're a fan of musicians like Cecily Corbell, Celtic Woman, Secret Garden, and Enya, you probably already know Loreena McKennitt. If not, enjoy her fairy music.
Ooh. The animated children's movie Hilda and the Mountain King, with a plot focusing on a changeling storyline. The entirety of the Hilda franchise focuses on Nordic mythology, and it is a very fun watch.
It's so cute. In the Icelandic TV series Katla, a year after a volcanic eruption, people who had previously been believed to be dead begin to appear in the town, covered in ash and looking exactly as they did when they died, even though their death may have occurred years ago. In the series subtitles, these returned people are referred to as changelings. Whether that's a translation error or the show takes a new spin on the idea of the changeling, we'll leave that to the viewer to decide.
Yes. If you want something more grounded in reality, the 2008 mystery crime drama Changeling, directed by Clint Eastwood and starring Angelina Jolie, tells the story of a missing child returned to his mother, only for the mother to realize that he is not actually her child. The film is based on real-life events that occurred in 1920s California.
The tabletop roleplay game, Changelings: The Lost, is a fantasy horror game where players take on the role of escaped changeling hostages and must navigate the world of fairies and humans.
Ooh. Changelings also appear in games like Dungeons & Dragons, TV shows like Supernatural and Merlin, and are a very, very popular fantasy book trope today. Though those changelings tend to be misunderstood outcasts who later become hot fairy nobility, but, not entirely historically accurate. Okay, but
I don't mind the change.
Yeah, we don't mind
the
it.
change.
We don't mind it.
All right, time for your siren call, because this episode got heavy.
Yes, it was. Your siren call this week is to tell us what your favorite changeling story is. Is it an old fairy tale, a modern myth, or something from real life? Let us know in the comments, or better yet, tell us what you think when you join our public Discord. Remember, the link is in the show notes. Come and join us. We cannot wait to talk to you about more magical mayhem.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Yes.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Story Sirens. You can follow us on Instagram at Story Sirens Podcast. Want to support us? Send us a cup of Ko-fi by searching ko-fi.com/storysirens. We've got lots of treats for those who become siren seekers. All research materials can be found in the episode summary. Music by Donald Guzzi and artwork by Alexis Torres. Story Sirens is a Feather and Fin production. See you soon.